Hi class, today I'm going to talk about proportion using scale. And this is only one way of solving proportion questions. As we go through these, you'll notice already that you probably know how to solve some of these, but using a scale is a really good overall rule for all proportion questions. So if you're ever stuck on a proportion question, this should sort of be one of your go-to methods. Okay, so what is proportion actually used for? So the kinds of questions that use proportion, you'll always have one thing as a reference, and then you're sort of adapting it to use it in a different way. So for example, recipe questions where you've got 2 of something, or you can make 2 pies, but instead you want to make 3 pies, and they want to change the ingredients in some way, that's proportion. Say one of the common ones is when you have 2 colours of paint and you want to mix them together to make another shade of paint, and you want a certain amount of litres, that's a proportion question. Changing pounds into different, or changing currency, so changing pounds into euros, or pounds into dollars, that sort of thing. Ratio is proportion, pie charts are proportion, percentage is proportion, and actually so are fractions. Okay, so if you have this is also proportion. Alright, and then similar shapes use proportion, so they are in proportion to each other, but they are different sizes. That's also a time when you can use this this scale skill here. Okay, so let's have a look at this first example here. Let's say that Jenny and Simon have gone into business together, and they make a deal that for every £2 that Simon makes, Jenny gets £1. Let's say that Simon works more often or something. So what we're going to do here, so it should be quite obvious to you straight away that what's happening here is you would times by 2 to get from 1 to 2. So in proportion, it's really important that you never take away or add. It's always a times or divide situation to change one into the other. Okay, so in this case, straight away, we can see that the scale is 2. Because to change one to the other using times or divide, you're using the number 2. So for example, if Jenny got £12, to find out how much Simon would have got from that same deal, you would times by 2. And I know in your head you're thinking, why are we doing this? Because you can double. But in a minute I'll show you a slightly trickier problem. And then let's say that Simon got £18. So you're going to use your same scale number, and the opposite of times is divide, right? So you're going to divide by 2. And at this stage, I know this seems quite simple, but I am going to show you why this is so useful with some slightly more tricky questions. Okay. So just to recap on this one, to find the scale, you need to have 2 amounts already that are linked together, that have a relationship. So in this relationship, you can see that when Jenny gets £1, Simon gets £2, and because those 2 amounts of money are related every time they make some money, that's how you can find the scale from those 2 related items. So let's have a look at this one. So let's say that somebody's making smoothies, and for every 3 equal parts of apples, they use 2 equal parts of bananas. Or you could say for every 3 apples they need 2 bananas. Although in this case this is equal amounts actually of liquid. Okay, so let's say that in total you wanted to make 300 mils of smoothie. The issue with this one is, do you see the 300 mils as the total of the actual proper mils? And this part's the ratio here. So we need to find a ratio that has a relationship with this 300 mils. This 300 mils, because it's the whole of the smoothie, can you see it'll be made out of the 3 parts of apple and the 2 parts banana? So the total is actually 5 in the ratio part. And then so with this one, hopefully you can sort of figure out what the scale might be to change from 5 to 300. But if you're not sure, and this is important, you start using the main technique to find scale, which is you do 300 divided by 5, which is 60. Okay, and that means the scale is 60. Okay, so if you want to go from 5 to 300, you times by 60. So if you want to find out what amount of mils of banana and apple juice you need, you're also going to times these by 60, because you use that same scale each time. So once you find your scale, that's the only number you'll need to change these things from one to the other. Alright, and this one is going to be 120, and this one's 180. And then you can tell if you've done this right or not, because 180 and 120 add back up to 300 mils. Okay, so let's say that you wanted to make a pie chart. This is often what you see before you can actually make the pie chart. So they'll give you some information. So this is about people travelling to work, let's say. And it says 5 people by car, 3 by bike, bus by 2, train by 2. And they want you to change it into degrees. So again, just like above, we need to have some kind of information from both parts that joins together, that's linked. And at the moment, we only have information in the people bit. Okay, so what degrees do you definitely know about on a circle? It's going to be the total. So the total degrees of a circle is 360. And then you add up these people, which makes to 12. And then, again, you've got two numbers that are related to each other. Okay, and to find the scale again, you can do 360 divided by 12. Which makes you 30. So then the scale is 30. And if you wanted to go backward the other way, you would do the opposite of times, so you would do divide. But in this case we're going forward on all of them. Oh, let's just cut off there. There we go, right. So in this case then this would be 150, and again you can check after you've done these. Yes, this would be 90, 60 and 60, and all of these numbers added together make up to 360 degrees, and then you know that it's been done right. Okay, so here's a favourite. So this time you've got two currencies and you're trying to figure out if you've got 42 euros, how many pounds would that make you? So one of the things that I haven't told you about above is that you can actually find two scales depending on which way that you divide. Okay, and this on this question I'll show you this, because you can either do 1 divided by 1.17, or you can do 1.17 divided by 1, and both of these will find a scale, because all items actually have two scales, but normally one of them looks a bit more useful than the other one, like one of them will be a bit messy. So if you do 1 divided by 1.7, you actually get this number. And I can't even fit it all in because it's too long. And there's recurrings here. So this is a very messy number. But if you do this other one, and normally one of them will be very nice and tidy, especially up to GCSE level, you get this number, and that's much tidier. Okay, so the scale is actually the same as one of the numbers. So the scale is 1.17. So this is the number that you times or divide by to change one of these into the other. And you can try it out on your calculator, so you can literally say 1 times 1.7 or 1 divided by 1.7 and find out when the 1 changes into 1.17, and that's the way that you're meant to do it. So in this case you times by 1.17. So I know then to go from pounds to euros I need to times by 1.17, but in this case we're going from euros to pounds. So you just do the opposite, you divide by 1.17. Okay, and then that makes you so I've rounded this to £35.90. Okay, so let's talk a bit about percentage, because you can actually use this scale idea for both the types of percentage. The one where you're finding the percent, the 43 that it's told you the percentage is, and the other one where you have two numbers and you need to find a percent. So let's have a look at this. So what you do in these questions, again, is you have to find the thing that's related, because 43% isn't 38. 38 is a different percentage, but we know that 38 is 100%. And then you just have to figure out which scale you're going to use. So do you want to do 100 divided by 38 or 38 divided by 100? Well, I know that it's actually quite easy to do 38 divided by 100, so that's the one I'll do automatically to find this scale. And it's 0.38. So in this case, the scale is 0.38. And then you have to check. So you're going to check if 38 is timesed or divided to get to 100. And because 0.38 is less than 1, if you times by 0.38, things will get smaller. And in this case, the 38 is getting bigger, it's turning into 100. Okay, so I know in this case I'm going to divide by 0.38. And you can try this on your calculators. If you do 38 divided by 0.38, you get to 100. And then, so how does this help us? Well, if we put the 43, so do you see this side is all percentages? If you want to change your 43 into the real amount, if you're going divide to go this way, you can times to go the other way. So if you times by 0.38, you will find what 43% is as this number. Okay, and that turns out to be 16.34. Okay, so let's have a look on this other side. So find 63 out of 72 as a percentage. So in this case, again, so the most useful thing is figure out what is 100%. So it says 63 out of 72, so this time the 72 is the whole percent. And again, you're going to find your scale. And again, it's much easier to do 72 divided by 100. And that's going to be 0.72. Oops, 2. So your scale is 0.72. And again, so if you take 72 and you want to change it into 100, you know that if you times it by a number less than 1, it's going to actually get smaller. So in this case, we divide by 0.72, and that will make us go up to 100. And this time it's this side that we know already, so we know that this is 63. So you just, because we're still going in this direction, you actually do exactly the same thing, you just divide by 0.72. So you use your scale, you're going in the same direction, and the answer to this one is 87.5%. Okay, and that's how you can use scale to solve percentage problems.